The hydraulic pressure regulator knob located on the control pod should normally be set to 1500 psi. This pressure should be reduced when mounting or demounting weak or lightweight wheels such as a 16.5 wheel or some thin agricultural style wheels. Before rolling your first tire onto the carriage, make sure the carriage is retracted to the furthest position away from the cabinet. This will be the starting position for each mount-demount operation. When you're done with the machine, the carriage should be returned to the starting position ready for the next tire. This procedure will ensure full travel during bead loosening and positioning of the tire and tool assemblies. The first tire we will be demounting is an 11 by 22.5 tubeless tire mounted on a bud-style wheel. Roll the tire onto the carriage with the short side of the drop center away from the cabinet. Rotate the jaws till one jaw is at the 12 o'clock position. By pushing on the carriage lever, position the tire wheel assembly until the jaws reach the center hole of the wheel and clamp. Raise the tire off the carriage. Before proceeding any further, always remove the valve core and deflate the tire completely. Also remove all wheel weights from both sides of the rim. On this style wheel, place the bead loosening disc post assembly in the second socket. To loosen the first bead, push the jaw rotation lever to rotate the jaws clockwise. At the same time, advance the roller assembly until the roller is approximately 1/2 inch below the wheel flange. Advance the roller until the bead is loosened from the wheel. Then push several more inches to enable you to apply an ample amount of tire lube to both tire bead and wheel surface. Caution! Failure to apply lube could result in damage to the tire beads. Now back the roller away from the tire and raise the assembly to allow the roller to pass under the tire to the back side. Repeat the same bead loosening technique as before. Make sure to apply a liberal amount of lube to the bead area. After the lube is applied, continue to push the roller across the width of the wheel until both beads are touching. As the tire is rotating, lower the tire assembly approximately 1 inch. Push the roller forward, then lift the assembly back up and push the tire off the wheel. This procedure can be followed on most over-the-road tubeless tire assemblies mounted on wheels with a 15-degree drop center, with the exception of bias ply super singles. Make sure the carriage is returned to the starting position and remove the tire from the carriage. Remove the roller assembly. Note, if you fail to push both beads off as just shown, there may be excessive rust on the wheel, or the wheel may have other than a 15-degree inclined edge. This method will take some practice and is not to be used on super singles. Before mounting a tire, inspect the wheel for any damage such as cracks. If damage is found, do not attempt to mount a tire on the wheel. Clean any rust by using a wire brush. It is critical to be sure the tire you will mount is the correct size for the wheel. Mismatched components may create a safety risk to operators and vehicle users and may result in tire or rim damage. Always check both the tire size and the wheel size before attempting to mount the tire. The first step to mount a tire is to clamp the vice grip in the 7 o'clock position. Roll the new tire onto the carriage near the edge of the last socket and lean the tire against the wheel. Lubricate both beads at this time. Now place the combo T assembly in the last socket and insert the clevis pin into the carriage. Tighten the locking handle and move the tool into position near the edge of the rim. There should be approximately 1/2 inch clearance from the back side of the duckbill and 1/2 inch vertical clearance. Push the rotation lever to rotate the tire clockwise. The pliers will pick the tire up and place the first bead into the drop center. Once the first bead is mounted, remove the pliers. To mount the second bead, you may prefer to use the drop center tool instead of the pliers. When mounting tires with extremely stiff beads, the drop center tool should be used. Hook the drop center tool to the left of the demount tool and start the tire rotating clockwise while pulling the tool towards you with slight pressure. As the tire rotates, make sure the bead slips into the drop center or damage to the tire bead could occur. Once the tire is completely mounted, retract the combo tool, lower the tire onto the platform, and release the jaws. Pull the carriage back to the starting position and roll the tire off the platform. The following method of removing a tire should be used for super singles, most single-piece agricultural wheels, or when an excessive amount of rust prevents the tire from being pushed off. Follow the bead loosening procedures as previously shown. Once the bead is loosened and lubricated, remove the roller assembly and place the combo T into the last socket. Install the clevis pin in the carriage. Position the demount tool 1/2 inch below the rim flange and 1/2 inch horizontally from the back side of the tool. Insert the bead lift tool between the rim and the tire bead to the right side of the demount tool and pry the bead out over the rim. Pull the jaw rotation lever to rotate the tire counterclockwise until the first bead is demounted. Repeat the steps to demount the second bead. When demounting wide tires such as agricultural or super singles, you may want to use the standard roller or optional number 110852 offset roller to push the second bead off the rim to avoid having to drag or lift the tire into bead lifting position. Note, when mounting bias ply super singles or any tires that have an exceptionally stiff sidewall and thick beads, the use of lube such as Fry brand lube or straight Murphy's lube may be necessary. The Fry lube product is an excellent rust inhibitor and will not dry out during mounting and demounting. The next tire to demount is a 10x20 tube type tire on a multi-piece demountable rim. Roll the tire onto the carriage with the lock ring facing away from the cabinet. Push the carriage control lever to position the wheel for clamping. Rotate the jaws till one jaw is at the 12 o'clock position. There are two methods of clamping this style wheel. One is to clamp the wheel at the inner rim flange using the serrated teeth on the jaws as shown. Be sure to use at least 1500 psi jaw pressure to help prevent slippage. The other clamping position is to reach the jaws through the wheel and clamp to the outside rim flange next to the lock ring. If clamping in this location, it will be necessary to use the number 110852 offset roller assembly due to space limitations between the wheel and the cabinet. This will also allow you to exert more bead loosening pressure needed when the tire and boot are stuck to the rim due to rust or heat. Once the wheel has been clamped, completely deflate the tire by removing the valve core. Place the appropriate roller in the carriage socket. Position the roller disc within 1/2 inch of the lock ring. As the tire is rotating, advance the roller approximately 2 inches past the lock ring, then lower the wheel assembly until the roller bottoms out on the shaft. This will wedge the roller between the tire bead and rim flange to loosen the bead without having to use excessive horizontal force. This downward force technique can be used to loosen stubborn beads on many common types of wheels. Using the ring tool, remove the lock ring. Once the bead has been loosened, liberally lube the tire bead and rim. Raise the tire and move the roller disc into position on the inner bead and avoid contacting the rim. As the tire is rotating, slowly advance the roller disc approximately 2 inches past the rim flange and lower the wheel until the roller bottoms on the post. Once the bead is loosened, apply lubricant. Then slowly push the tire halfway off. On a bud style wheel, you will need to push the valve stem inside the wheel or lift the stem and place an 8-inch length of half-inch fuel hose over the stem to prevent damage during removal of the tire. Make certain the roller is at least 1 inch below the surface of the wheel to prevent damage to the stem and continue pushing the tire off the wheel. Inspect all wheel components, including the lock ring, for damage and clean as necessary. Before mounting a tire on the wheel, make sure the tire and wheel size match. Before rolling the new tire onto the carriage, insert the tube and flap into the tire. Install a slight amount of air into the tube, just enough to hold the flap in position. Rotate the wheel and place the valve stem hole at 12 o'clock. Then lower the rim to the lowest position. Roll the tire assembly onto the platform with the valve stem at the 12 o'clock position. Lean the tire on the wheel and apply a liberal amount of rubber lubricant to both beads and, when necessary, the rim surface. Install the valve stem into the hole. Now raise the wheel slowly and at the same time move the carriage in towards the wheel. While the tire still rests on the carriage, continue to push until fully mounted. If necessary, use the roller disc to push the tire on further to clear the lock ring groove. Install the lock ring. This installation procedure can be used on both 2-piece and 3-piece rims. Note, when mounting aluminum wheels, do not use the clamp jaws directly on the wheel. To prevent marring, use the Bud wheel adapter clamped at 1500 psi. Lug nuts need to be no more than hand tight.